Greetings to you, and thanks for your patience. I wanted to make sure I received some information just late, moments before I come on the air, and I wanted to verify the information. So I had to make sure that I cross-reference and tap into some other information, because there are lots of people who send me stuff, and I think they are being tricked into doing that because they want me to make certain claims so that the persons who are persons of interest can then say, you see, he's making false accusations. So that was what I was doing there, trying to cross-reference. But I don't think I want to deal with that, because it doesn't seem credible to me. But what I'll deal with, and specifically on my agenda for today, is I'm going to continue with my rhetoric regarding all the persons who seemed to have a problem with the good governance of the Irfaan Ali government, seem to have a problem with that. It's apparent, it's evident that the way Guyana is going, even the so-called friends of Guyana, they have their hidden agenda, their ulterior motives, and they secretly want Guyana to retract its path towards the days when they had Guyana on travel advisory, telling their citizens, don't go to Guyana. If you go to Guyana, don't go to these places, don't go to that places. It seemed like they want that to come back. Now, who is really in charge here? Is it President Irfaan Ali or the so-called allies of Guyana? Not the president, Guyana. Who is in charge? Welcome to Uncensored Guyana. I'm Dr. Prasad. Let's deal with some good news. One of the good news that I want to focus on, because we are so distracted with all the things that are circulating, that forever we keep missing the point. We keep missing living in reality. I talked about how the country has progressed in the past few months from September to now. Almost nowhere you can see online. And don't expect the other side to cover that. They wouldn't. They will not in any way make representation to what the government has been doing regarding the manifesto's promise. Now we have the budget in the making. We have the budget that's coming up. And all these things that have been talked about, they're included in the budget, including, and grab this. Why I want to emphasize on this is because I want you to understand something. The census report came out. Guyana has grown by somewhat, what's the percentage? 12, 20%. Anyway, Guyana has grown in population size. This is not about the persons who came over and the refugees or the migrants and things like that. They're not included in the census. The census are about Guyanese who were born there, who live there. And we have seen where the population has grown. And based on the numbers, which is inconclusive, Guyana could very well have as much as 1 million people. Guyanese, by birth, almost 1 million. It's possible. This is what's scary to me. Let me share with you what is scary. Almost 1 million people. The last census was 2012. From 2012 to now, Guyana has seen a population increase. Amongst which racial demographic is the increase evident? Which racial group increased Guyana's population? I can bet my bottom common sense, Afro-Guyanese. You don't have to try to figure that out. It's common sense. Afro-Guyanese would have largely added to the increased population of Guyana over the past, since 2012 and from the 80s coming up. Does it mean that the other ethnic groups did not add humans to the population? They have. Mostly the Indians. The Indo-Guyanese added much more. Much more. But this is what you need to understand. The census was not about who has left the country. The census was conducted for persons living in the country. Living in the country. There are more Black people living in Guyana than any other race. It doesn't mean that they have produced biologically more Guyanese. But the Indo-Guyanese, what did they do? They left the country. You see the consequences of leaving? That is reflective in the census. That's the consequences of leaving. How can a country that historically had about 70% Indo-Guyanese population, historically, suddenly now is 30%? Where did the 40% go? They're not in prison. They're not dead. They migrated. 40% migrated. You see why the country's society, the social structure of the country, you see why it's messed up? Because the good citizens of Guyana who are supposed to be there, to be in numbers, to be more in numbers, so that their values can become contagious to the rest of the country, they left. So what is there now? The ghetto legacy spread throughout the country. They're now the dominant race in the country with no values, no morals. And the rest that are squeezed in, they're left to the mercy of the majority, which are the blacks. This is the breakdown. I want to register this. My take from the census, Guyana's population have grown. Where are the Guyanese? The Guyanese currently in Guyana, if you look at the statistics based on the people in Guyana right now, you would think that the majority of ethnic Guyanese are Africans. It's not the case. The majority of ethnic Guyanese are Indo-Guyanese, not Black Guyanese. But if you keep leaving the country, the perception will be, and politicians will use that to justify their protests, justify their anti-government and anti-Ali claim, to say that, oh, elections was rigged because the Indian population is not so large. We all know that Black people voted for the PPP. We all know that. But that cannot be the base on which the PPP stays in government. Because of that, because the Blacks know that they are largely backed or joined the PPP, that will always be held over the head of the PPP government, always. The Blacks in the party can very well use that to control the president and control the executive of the party. Don't forget, we made these Blacks come. Don't forget, we made these Blacks come. This is why you have the perception that the government is only investing in programs and policy that favors the Black. It means like it seems as though they're buying these Black people, they're buying them, bribing them, because they know without them they can't maintain power. Who's responsible for that? All them Indians that keep migrating. And I don't blame you. Hey, I don't blame you. You want a future for your children. You want security. You want prosperity. You want safety. I get that. But instead of just leaving, grandfather leave, grandmother leave, grandchildren leave, instead of doing that, pressure the government to put better systems in place to guarantee your safety, to guarantee your security in terms of your business and your future. And the government is trying. Look at what the government is doing. Free education. Indian people are a sucker for knowledge, for education. Because why? They're better with their brains. The government is introducing policies that will help to motivate the Indo-Guyanese to come back. Bring your family, come back to the country. You have always been the largest group in the country. Now you're dwindling. And it works for the PNC. It works for the opposition because they like the fact that they can use the ghetto to terrorize society and scare off the Portuguese, the Indians, even the Chinese from Guyana. So Guyana would remain a country dominated by the Blacks. And what do you get from that? Pickpocket, drive-by shooting, murder, corruption, prostitution, junkies, insane people, violence. That's what you get. This is no joke. We can't take this in a humorous sense. There's no humor about this. Think another 15 years. Think another 15 years. Most of the Blacks have nowhere to go. They can't migrate. Their relatives don't want them there where they are. They rather let them stay in Guyana and send them a stipend every month. They don't want them there because of their character, because of their morals, their values. They don't want them. So they don't have a choice than to stay in the country. The rest of the world, especially Europe and America, want Indians because they know that Indians are hardworking, progressive, industrious, technical, smart, innovative. So yes, they want to lure them out of Guyana to go to America to have the Indo-Guyanese build America, build Europe, build Africa. But you're leaving a country that has massive potential, massive resources, to the mercy of people who don't value their own life. How will they value nation and value their country? They don't value their own life. It is embarrassing to know, and I'm getting down to the brass facts here. I'm not playing politics. The fact of the matter is, everywhere you go, the majority of the people you see are blacks. So telling people that that's not true, your eyes don't lie. Go into the hospitals, the maternity section. 60% of the mothers in labor are black. Anywhere in the country. The social programs, the handouts, black people. Why? They're not the ones building the country. They're not the ones paying taxes. They're not the ones that are developing the infrastructure or adding towards the future of Guyana. They're not the ones doing that, but they are on the receiving end to receive all the handouts, while the persons who are making an effort, they're leaving the country. I have to talk this way because I want you to understand. If you love Guyana, don't leave Guyana at the mercy of the PNC and its followers. Don't do that. Chaos will never stop. It will never stop. Now, I'm in support of the social programs the government is doing. I'm in support of that. But this is what the PNC and the others aren't saying. The grants that the president announced for newborn babies, Amerindians aren't benefiting from that. Indians aren't benefiting from that. Chinese and the others are not benefiting from that. And I mean that literally. Because in every 100 newborn, 80 are Afro-Guyanese. 80. So tell me how the others are benefiting. Most of the money, most of the programs the blacks are consuming, they're the ones benefiting. So how can the others benefit? Make babies too. Make babies as well. But no, a lot of the Indian women, they are so obsessed with career, obsessed with business, obsessed with becoming this independent woman, that they forget that one of their roles in life is to be a mother, to procreate, to produce. So they put it off and put it off and put it off until the man gets weary of them and he goes sleep with a black woman and get her pregnant and she makes a Douglas baby. What you think a Douglas baby is? It's black. It's an Indian. You Indo-Guyanese women, you need to stop that nonsense and start getting pregnant. Start fucking and get pregnant. Make babies. Make babies. You were once the majority. Now you're the minority. How are we supposed to maintain power if the population is dwindling? How? You don't think crime can be solved? But if the crime and all these things that are happening at the hands of the Afro-Guyanese, how can the government push policies against such a people when the government needs votes from such a people? So most of the times you have to turn your back, because if you piss them off, the opposition, like David Hines, Aubrey Norton, can use that to rile up the emotions in the black people to say, you see, you're supporting the government and the government is putting you in slavery. because the Indians are not there in the majority to guarantee that kind of voting security. The same shit in America. Holding the American government at ransom because the Democrats are dominated by blacks. So they want to defund the police in America. They want to defund ICE. They want to close down all the departments that deals with law and order because black people are offended by law enforcement. So you get rid of law enforcement and they are free to roam and rain terror on society. Same thing in Guyana. You can't enforce the law because when you do that, the blacks are offended because they are the criminals. How the hell can you have a country, 83,000 square miles, and the people who have not contributed to the building of the country, to the economy, they're the majority, fleecing off of the minority? Again, I'm saying, Shell was right. Everywhere you turn, no matter where you go, the entire public sector of Guyana, is dominated by Africans. Dominated. The Indo-Guyanese don't want to get involved because when they get involved, they're provoked, they're sidelined, they're discriminated against, they have all these issues with these blacks, so they rather stay out and go in the private sector or to start their own businesses. These things need to address, because when you have the blacks dominate every sector, you will get discrimination. They'll make sure that services goes towards black people, and still they complain about discrimination and racism and the Ali government this and Ali government that. Look at the land titles. Look at the land titles that were distributed since President Ali took office. Research it as to the amount of people who got houses and land from the government. Research to see how many people by demographics. Most of it went to Afro-Guyanese. Most of it. They get in PNC time and they get in PPP time. Why you have to keep patronizing a group that hates you? They will always hate you. We have to correct that. This is 2026. Indo-Guyanese women, start fucking. Don't wait until your womb can't produce anything anymore because you're obsessed with career. Make babies early, then go to school after. Make children early, then finish when you become a mother. You have 3 and 4 kids, go back and study. But you put everything off to go study, and when you finish studying, you're too tired, too distracted, and you like your figure. You don't want to see yourself getting pregnant because, oh my gosh, if I get pregnant, I'm going to get fat. Then my tummy is going to look as if I'm always pregnant. Then my boobs are going to drop. No, you're selfish. Think about the consequences of you not making babies. Because the same place that you work, that black woman next to you, she has 5 kids. And she works with you. 5 already. You have none. And those kids that she has, they're going to grow up to vote for the PNC. What contribution you'll make to the PPP or to Guyana? Just 1 vote? This is a scary situation for the peace and longevity of Guyana. If Guyana wants to survive, folks, if Guyana wants to survive, you have to have a majority Indo-Guyanese population. Is either you leave whichever country you are and go back to Guyana, or those who are there start fucking. For the men, alcohol kills your sperm. Cigarette and drinking alcohol every day damages your sperm. So you can't get a woman pregnant as an alcoholic. Even if you do, chances are the baby will be fucked up. So I suggest to you, Indo-Guyanese men, stop with the drinking, make children. When you're older in life and you're bored and you're miserable, you can take a shot now and then. But while you're a teenager, you're getting older, think pussy, think babies, think investment, think building your future. Forget alcohol, cigarette, drugs, and company. Forget it. Guyana's population needs to reflect the true nature of what the country is about. In 10 years, did you see how quick 2010 passed? We are in 2026, which means it's 15 years past. 15. The kids who were born in 2010, they would vote 2030. And who will be the majority? So don't wait. Don't wait for anything practical. Start fucking now. Ease up with the anal stuff. Lost some vagina. Black people will never love Indians. Never. Black people will never, ever love Indo-Guyanese. Bear that in mind. Get it in your thick skull. So if you're going to sit back and relax for them to fix your problem, they're going to keep multiplying and multiplying. And guess what? President Ali said the government will go into investment for daycare, preschool, play school for children so that mothers can have a place to take their babies while they pursue their careers. Who do you think that song's appealing to? Who? Who are the people who are getting pregnant every day? Black women. That initiative of the government, that service of the president is going to benefit black people because they're the ones making babies. They're the ones who have 5 and 6 children that needs daycare. The government is encouraging them to work. So you have no excuse to say, well, I have no one to keep my kids. I can't find a job. The government is going to pay for black women to make babies and then pay for them to have babysitters and then pay them to study. You think they're going to be loyal to President Ali or the PPP for that miracle? No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't. The PNC will always find a way to appeal to the stupid demons of the black people and invoke the racism against the government. They will always find a way. So they will continue to tell them, don't fall for the trick. Don't fall for the trick. When elections come, you see what they did? They voted for Win. All the things that Ali did, all the services he provided, you would think that the blacks would be grateful, that they would want to support the president and the government to continue. They voted for Win. Instead of voting for Win, instead of giving Azruddin Mohammed 16 seats, if they had any sense of loyalty and respect to their creator and their religion, that God has placed a man of character, a man of love, a man who is not racial, to help the black people that much. Imagine if they had delivered that 16 seats to the PPP. How much seats the PPP would have? 50 what? 50 something? Yes. But instead, they didn't give it to the hateful PNC, they gave it to the criminal. But if you Indo-Guyanese, if you didn't leave the country, if you didn't stop taking pregnancy pills and pressuring the man to use a condom, and you had made kids, we won't have this problem now, would we? Let me pause there. I'm not interested in Mitchell Caesar. I'm not interested in that. That's not for me to worry about. We know the Mohammeds are criminals. That has been proven. We know the Mohammeds were fingered in murder, in drugs, in corruption, in crime. We know that. So labeling somebody else to say that they were associated with the Mohammeds and sanctioned and whatever it is, the evidence has to speak for itself. If Caesar was sanctioned because of his ties with the Mohammeds, the evidence has to be presented. But like I said before, black people dominate the police force. Almost all the heads in the police force are black. Black people commit most of the heinous crimes in Guyana. Don't you think the police in Guyana knows who the criminals are? They know every one of them. Where to find them? They know. But most of the times, it's their relatives, their cousins, their uncles, their friends, most of the times. You think they're going to solve crime? So if you have to bribe a police officer to cover up a murder or cover up a crime, you're paying him to keep a secret for his cousin. Because the murderer could have been his cousin or his brother or some relative, and you're paying him, you're bribing him to keep a secret for his cousin, whom he would have done it anyway. So we know the Mohammeds are terrible people. We understand that. It's not a secret. So reminding us about that is, what's the point? They're evil people. We know that. They have to leave the country. We know that. But wasting time on that is besides the point. What needs to be emphasized is that black people are for hire. Blacks are for hire. They see money and they would kill their own relatives. If the price is right, you can get them to commit suicide for the right price. That's how emotionally unstable blacks are. And I'm speaking in fucking general. You're offended, that's your problem. I'm speaking in general. Because unless you are in my position, you don't understand how much your actions as a Negro, your actions affect me. You will never understand. So the best I can do is to appeal to the good angels of the blacks who means business, who means to stay and work and progress and keep society safe, to be the gatekeepers of good governance and good morals in Guyana. And I'm not talking about the churches. I'm not talking about those fucking zombies. I ain't talking about them. The biggest hypocrites amongst the blacks in Guyana are the ones in the churches. The biggest hypocrites. So I ain't talking about them. I have no interest whatsoever in any of them. They're all a bunch of losers, racist losers. They're related to David Hines and Aubrey Norton. They're relatives. All them pastors in Guyana and all them so-called low-life bishops, they're all related by racism. So I'm not interested in them. What I need to pronounce on, the American ambassador, that woman, had so much to say leading up to the election, so much. Her rhetoric, man, I tell you, if Guyanese had listened to what she had to say about the Mohammeds, the sanctions and all those things, nobody would have voted for Mohammed. Nobody. If it was up to her, nobody would. Because she made it clear that it's dangerous to elect somebody like the Mohammeds who are sanctioned, who have the, oh my gosh, she painted such an ugly picture that you breathe a sigh of relief to say, well, at least Uncle Sam, his representative, made it clear to Guyanese, be careful what you're risking. Then after the elections, her mouth changed. We'll find a way to work around it. You see why you can't trust these people? They say when it suits them. When the narrative changes, they change their narrative. They're not consistent. And I've said it before in the past. If some deal has to be made, the Americans can very well, like what they did the other day and freed that drug lord, is it Argentina? The man that was jailed by Biden, Donald Trump pardoned him just to influence the elections in Argentina. You don't trust them. You can't trust them. They control the narrative. So they can very well hold Guyana's government at ransom to say, hey, we need some concessions from you. If you don't give us the concessions, we can keep pushing and pressuring you to swear in this man, and we can even take it further. We can cancel the indictment. We can forget about it. We can clean the slate if you don't give us the concession we're looking for. So the fact that we have these so-called European diplomats in Guyana fleecing of the country, meddling in such an important issue of Guyana to somehow influence or add pressure to Mansour Nadir or the Ali government to initiate parliamentary proceedings so that Mohammeds can be sworn in, it is uncalled for. It is out of place. The ambassador and the others should stay out of that particular area as it relates to Guyana, because they're the ones who sanction the Mohammeds, not the Guyana government. They're the ones who want the Mohammeds. It is the American State Department who requested, by virtue of a warrant, Azruddin Mohammed. So for the ambassador to come out and and say these things, it's a conflict of interest. Your State Department want to arrest the man, and you're going to say things subliminally to make it seem like you are in favor of this man's swearing in the parliament. What message are you sending? What message are you sending, ambassador? You either want the man extradited or you don't. And if you don't want the Mohammeds extradited, drop the whole case. Drop the case. But it's like this. The woman is chatting with somebody, leading him on, telling him how much she loves him, how adorable he is, how she sees herself with him in the future. But when she hangs up, there's a knock on her door, and the serviceman is there waiting. Yes, she's giving one man the pussy and promising her heart to another man. That's how it's seen. These European diplomats, they should focus on the issues of Europe. Focus on the fact that ExxonMobil don't want to invest in Venezuela. Focus on the fact that you're creating problems on one side and you're leaving it like that. You're not fixing it. You're not bringing the order out of the chaos that you are causing, America. Now you want to contribute to chaos in Guyana? You want to take us back to the Burnham era? I've said before, this is jealousy. They're all jealous of Guyana and President Ali. All of them. You shouldn't be pushing and saying things about The Mohammeds must be sworn in, and you hope that before the next sitting of the parliament, he is sworn in. Who are you to determine that? Who are you to determine that? I am against any swearing in of the Mohammeds. He should have been arrested. Azruddin Mohammed should be arrested. What are they going to do? They're going to say that you can't arrest him? The man has committed crimes. His name is being called again in the 10 billion plus gold smuggling and drug smuggling there recently, a few days ago. All these things, the paper shorts situation. The law in Guyana knows the crimes of the Mohammed. Why can't you just arrest the man? On 3 occasions, he's on bail. Imagine that. Who the fuck goes on bail 3 times? The man has become a chronic pain to the country. A chronic pain to the country. Now you have these diplomats, these esteemed citizens of other countries are speaking in favor of a criminal. What's going on? What is the message they're sending to President Ali? What is it that the president is not giving them that they need to secure, and they're joining together now to add pressure? It can't be just that. All of them come out the same time and make these claims. There's something fishy about this. There's something fishy about this. When they can't control your country, when they can't play your president and utilize and use him, they seek to undermine your democracy. That's the West. That's what they do. And they start by making suggestions, by saying stuff. And then they get their control media they get to start making articles and publishing articles about these things. Is it Reuters, American based? Reuters, the one that broke the story on the Bahamas. They're American. What, we're going to hear something now from Reuters about Guyana government, about the president? I am sincerely stands his ground within the confines of the law, because are ordinary citizens and they should be dealt with the same way the average pickpocket thief is dealt with. Whether they take lawyers or they can afford lawyers, their money will run out. But you can't sanction the people, but yet they're allowed to operate businesses. Yet they're being given contracts. Yet they can hold bank accounts and all these things. What kind of a double standards is this? They're either sanctioned or they're not. They're either indicted or they're not. You have greater people who have done much more for the world. They're in federal prison for less crime. And these people, these two, what are they? Epstein? They have files on people. They have files on the Americans. They're allowed to walk around, to roam free, and to put hit on people and put threats here and put threats there, and nobody can get them. Who is in charge? Manzoor Nadir is an independent Speaker of the House. He's answerable to the Constitution and the people of Guyana. He's not answerable to the president or any ambassador. If the Speaker of the House doesn't see it fit to initiate any session to elect the opposition leader, he should not have that done. All of these crimes hanging over the head of Azruddin Mohammed. You tell me, how could that be justified? How? that you put this man as opposition leader to decide in matters of the state. The country is at a position right now where the government can run without the parliament. And even if the parliamentary debate has to come regarding the budget, the government has 36 seats in the National Assembly. 36. Either way, all the programs and policy of the government will pass the House of Parliament. It will pass. You don't need an opposition. You convene the parliament, you have your discussions as usual, and the PPP members will vote 36 to whatever in favor. Then the president signs it into law. When all the legal ramblings are over, the Mohammeds have left to go face justice in America. Then we all know that Aubrey Norton will have his issue with this Tabitha woman, and the two of them will decide who will take the reign. Let's see how strong she is to stand up. Let's see if the people who defected the PNC and joined WIN, let's see if they're really WIN members or PNC members. Let's see. But until then, no opposition leader is necessary. None. Mansour Nadir, you have the support of the country and the citizens. The Mohammeds have to deal with their issue. They have to deal with their crimes. And like the Attorney General says, I'll just quote him. I'm not impressed, but I'll quote him. The Attorney General says, so many election laws were broken by the Mohammeds in terms of bribing people to vote, buying votes. Wait, the Americans didn't see that? The US ambassador and the others didn't see that? All the crimes they've committed, they're not seeing that? They're in the country to spy in the country. You don't know that? The man should have been disqualified from even running. GCOM made that mistake. That's why the woman had to go. She failed the country. But he should have been disqualified on the basis that they were bribing and buying votes. That's illegal. Did they face any penalty for that? No. So tell me, Nandalal, tell me, Anil Nandalal, what's the point in making that claim now? What's the point? You should have made it then. You should have said, raise your voice then to make sure that GCOM did not allow the man to run in the elections, to cancel and disqualify their party. You should have done it then. Saying it now makes no sense. But for the Guyanese people to understand, these are all the things the Mohammeds have been involved in. You all know about the crimes they committed. The whole country knows about the paper shorts issue. Whether Caesar covered up whatever and he was paid whatever money, I don't give a fuck. The point is the country knows the crimes of the Mohammeds. Why can't we pressure the government to pressure the parliament to make sure this never happens? Change the laws. If somebody has a criminal background, they should not be allowed to contest in elections. Change the laws. You have good citizens in that country who can take the place of parliamentarians or politicians and councillors. But you think anybody from a decent background want to go in a parliament with a bunch of crooks? You think anybody from a decent background want to go into the parliament with a bunch of crooks and hooligans and scraps? I get why a lot of Indo-Guyanese don't want to join the police force or the military or in the public service. I get it. They don't want associations with nonsense and drama. Indian people generally want peace and calm. That's it. Anything that threatens that, they don't want a part of. Black people like chaos. They enjoy chaos. Regulate the system, change the laws, make it more attractive for other people to get involved besides blacks. And I'm warning the government here. Don't bring more refugees or deportees from the Americans, because if they have issues with Guyana, if the Americans are jealous of Guyana, they would very well send a lot of murderers and criminals and rapists and mentally disabled people. They would very well send those kinds to the country to further mess up the moral fabric of Guyana. Very well they could do that. So I do hope that the government of Guyana don't only allow the Americans to vet these people, but the Embassy of Guyana in America vet every individual that is bound for Guyana, these deportees, and make sure that none are black, none are criminal or have no criminal record. Their families, they're educated, they have a skill. You make sure they don't walk around with tattoos. If they have tattoos, I would suggest you leave them there. Let them go to Guantanamo Bay or Ecuador. Seacut. Send them there. Bring the best of the best. Get the finest quality of people. Not only America wants good humans, Guyana also wants good humans. You bring the good eggs, and they will do two things. Either cause the bad eggs to run away or convert them. Bring good people to Guyana so they can influence the dunce thugs and the bad ones to change their behaviors. But if you bring more criminals, we are fucked. I emphasize, Guyana's population needs to be a larger percentage of Indo-Guyanese, Chinese, Europeans, and a small majority of blacks. Small of blacks. I stand by that. Go ahead. Do what you do best. Cuss. Threaten. That's what you do best. Go ahead. I wouldn't change my position, because your actions affects me. Your actions affects me. I need better for my generation. And they can't get better if they're surrounded and dominated in a country where the majority are Afro-Guyanese. They can't. Anyway, you can show your support by commenting, sharing this live, liking the video, subscribing to the channel. And if you're on Facebook or TikTok, follow me on Facebook, follow me on TikTok. I need us to build. I need us to get higher and wider so that we can reach more people and keep this message alive, because Guyana is our priority. We have a good president. Bear that in mind. We have a good president. Protect him. Protect his character. Protect his confidence. Protect his legacy. Stand with the government of Guyana. Don't join in any campaign to smear or to undermine the credibility or the legitimacy of the Ali government. Stand up with your country. Until next time, goodbye.